Hello, I'm Mrs. Milligan. Your daughter Elise is one of my students, and I just wanted to take a few minutes here to share a couple things with you. First of all, I recently obtained some math scores from a math exam that Elise took, and her overall score was 207, which is phenomenal. That is in the 99th percentile. The exam was broken into 4 categories. It was number sense, algebraic reasoning, geometry and measurement, and data and probability. Her highest score being in data and probability, her lowest being in number sense. But after going over the assessment of the exam, seeing her results, and seeing what standards I believe she's ready to cover, there's one standard I want to try to work with her on one-on-one in person would be much more helpful, because I would like to introduce some hands-on manipulatives for this lesson to better understand the standard. And hands-on manipulatives are exactly what they sound like. You are using some sort of pieces to better help you understand a concept. So this standard that I want to cover is in geometry and measurement. It is finding the area of two-dimensional figures by counting the total number of same-size unit squares that fill that shape without gaps or overlaps. So for the purpose of this video, I have created my own pieces, my own hands-on manipulatives, but I would like to, I could use these whenever I work with Elise, but I'd prefer to use algebra tiles. You can purchase them online. I will get some just because they are much smaller for tiny hands, much more convenient, and the pieces that I created are just colored cardstock construction paper. They're real flimsy, so I want something much more sturdy. So finding the area of two-dimensional figures by counting the total number of same-size unit squares that fill the shape without gaps or overlaps. So I have these yellow squares, and these yellow squares are going to represent 1 unit each. Next, I have these green rectangles. These green rectangles are going to represent 10 units each. And lastly, I have these purple squares. I'll call it my big purple square. These big purple squares are equivalent to 100 yellow pieces and 10 green pieces, or 100 yellow squares and 10 green rectangles. So for the lesson, I will just work with Elise on how many yellow pieces or yellow squares would it take to fill 1 green rectangle. So I have, a whole pile of them, and she'll just count out. If she lines them all up on this green rectangle, she'll find that it takes 10 yellow squares to fill 1 green rectangle. And I will do the same with the green rectangle and my big purple square. You line them up, and she will find that it takes 10 green rectangles to fill 1 purple square. And so part of my assessment on that would just be asking her as she goes along, well, how many yellow pieces how many yellow squares did it take you to fill 1 green rectangle? And hopefully she comes up with the answer of 10, and I will help her count them out if need be. And then the same with the green rectangles. How many green rectangles did it take to fill your purple square? At the very end of this lesson, I can provide her with a worksheet just to review. And she can use her hands-on manipulatives for this little review test, not test, I don't want to say that, for this review, for this assessment. So, the first question, how many yellow squares did it take to fill 1 green rectangle? The second, how many green rectangles did it take to fill 1 purple square? The third, how many yellow squares did it take to fill 1 purple square? And then to delve a little further on, to go further into it, to challenge her, because I know she needs more of a challenge. If you had a blue rectangle, and a blue rectangle is going to equal 5 yellow squares, or half of a green rectangle. So our blue rectangle is going to be half of one of these green rectangles, also equivalent to 5 yellow squares. So how many blue rectangles would you need to fill one big purple square? So she'll have to do a little more math, a little more thinking with this to get this answer. So that's something that I want to work on the next time we get to meet. And I think that's all for now. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.